Welcome, welcome one and all. Winter Wizard here. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you how I like to paint teeth and bones for the Great Company of Frostpaws. Joining me today, whoever you are, and welcome to this little video of mine where I'm going to be showing you how I like to paint teeth and bones for the Great Company of Frostpaws. I just want to very quickly explain what's going on here. So, if you didn't already know, I have a Space Wolves army called the Great Company of Frostpaws, and in this little painting series, this painting series is dedicated to unveiling the secrets, unveiling all the tips and tricks and all the secrets for how to paint the colour scheme of my Space Wolves army. So, what I've done is I've created a series where what I do is I like to take an individual character model here. This series will be focusing on Ragnar Blackmane, and what I do is break down the series into multiple different episodes, focusing on a different aspect of the colour scheme for each episode. And if you watch the whole thing from start to finish, well, you'll get to see Ragnar here painted entirely from start to finish. And so we're here in the Frozen Fortress. It's cold and lonely as always, but I've just made a nice cup of tea over there, Terran Gold, and I'm joined as always by my comrade and co-host, Norwegian Troll Dimmu. So this is going to be nice. We are excited. We're finally pleased to be getting on with another instalment of this little painting series. It's been a long time since we've done an episode of this. I've done 2 so far. So Ragnar, he's already been painted up a little bit. We've done his basic power armor, and we've done all the basic weaponry of the Space Wolves. But it's been a long time since we've picked Ragnar up. So we're back now to be cracking on and trying to get the rest of this series done. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to dive straight into the tutorial very shortly. But first, I'm going to show you what paints we're going to need. First up, base paint of Zandri Dust, CITADEL color there. We've got a shade of Agrax Earthshade here. More CITADEL, we've got a layer of Ushabti Bone, and we've also got a layer of Screaming Skull, and that is literally all the paints we're going to need. So we're going to zoom in now, we're going to get started. So here we are, we're zoomed in now. I've got my trusty brush here. It's actually a CITADEL starter brush, of all things. Got one of these for me pots of paint. So we're going to start with the Zandri Dust, and I've got a little wet palette over here as well. So first thing we're going to do is give the paint a nice shake. You can hear a clicking noise there, and that is because I like to put a couple of mixing bowls in my paint pots, and just little stainless steel ball bearings there, and they really help just to keep the paint mixed, especially some of these CITADEL ones, which can be a little bit thick, can be a little bit hard to work with sometimes. But using the mixing bowls and a little bit of extra TLC, and I never seem to have a problem. There we go then. So Ragnar's here, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick out all the bones, all the teeth, give them a nice little smooth coat of this Zandri Dust. So I'm going to load some of that onto the paint palette, just thin it down. I've got a little pot of water just off camera here. We're going to just thin it down just a little bit with some of that. And of course you want the paint to be nice and smooth, nice and thin down, but not like watery thin, just smoothly thin, so you can keep painting your lines. So yeah. So if you try and do a few little lines like this, it will just keep going and going, and I'll have a nice smooth finish. There we go. And so Ragnar, we've got a couple of bones down at the bottom on the base here. I put a few of those down just to sort of help with this tutorial. So I'm going to start by picking those out, like so. Just get that all in the details of the skull there, and the rest of it. We're thinning the paints because building up the nice thin layers will give it a much better finish, much better end result finish. A couple of thin layers just to make sure we get that nice solid colour, which is nice and smooth and also doesn't clog up any of the details or anything like that. But there we go. So there's skulls on the bottom there. Just like so, I'm going to go around, I'm going to pick out there's like some bones, some teeth hanging off this sort of necklace here, his actual teeth himself. I'm gonna go around and try and pick out all of those, and then we'll come back. Okay, so that is the first layer of Zandri Dust there done. So I'm going to go back in again, another nice thin layer of paint, and repaint all the bits that I've already done and make that colour nice and smooth and strong. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll move on to the next step after that. Okay, so that's the second layer of Zandri Dust now nice and dry, so we're going to move on. We're going to give it a wash. A little shade of the good old Agrax Earthshade, and we're just going to lay this all over the bone that we've painted, working that into all the cracks and crevices, all the details. And this is really going to washes. They're really great things. Washes. This is really going to bring it to life. Really going to bring it to life. There we go. We're just going to apply that all over the bits that we've painted, and then we're going to have to wait quite a while for it to dry. You really do want it to be fully dry, completely bone dry before we start trying to layer on top of it again. It can become quite messy otherwise, but well, there we go. So I'm going to slap this on, and you don't want to put far too much on, but you don't want to be don't want to be too sparse with it either. Gotta put a nice sort of coat on it, slap it on, and then sort of move it around, get a nice sort of finish, get a nice coat all over it. Really, nice coat all over it. And once you're happy with it, leave it alone, and as we said, let it get bone dry. Okay, so that should be the wash now nice and dry, and we're going to come back in with the Zandri Dust here, and we're simply going to reintroduce a bit of this colour onto the main pronounced areas of the piece. So let's take the skull of this orc here, for example. So we're not repainting the whole thing, we're just redoing the main sort of body of it. So I'm going to do his teeth without going all the way down to the edge, all the way down to the joins. And what that's going to do is just going to leave that shade in those recesses, in those gaps. And this is also going to give a nice little shaded undertone to the whole layer as well. So we just need one nice smooth thin layer of this colour back on the sort of main areas. Like I said, I'm avoiding going into all the sort of cracks and stuff, and just ignoring those to keep that shade in there, but just introducing a little bit of dynamic here. There we go. So that's what I'm doing. And like on the teeth here, we can just give a little bit of that colour back to it without going all the way up to the join. I'm just going to leave that shade in there. So I'm going to continue to fill this in, like on the skulls down here, leaving the shade, and then after that we're going to introduce some lighter highlights. Okay, then once the Zandri Dust is then dry, we're going to bring out the Ushabti Bone. And it's just going to be same principle here. I'm going to load up a bit of this onto the wet palette, making sure that it's nice and smooth and thin. Like I said, nice and thin, but not watery, just smoothly thin. There we go. And we're going to basically do the same thing that we just did. We're going to go back in on those sharper details, the main sort of body, and add a little bit of this colour in there. So just on the tips of the teeth there, being really careful not to cover up too much of the colour that we've already done. Making sure to keep that shading in there, but just bits of this to really accent the shape of the object, whether that's the skull or the bone or the teeth, whatever. So, and then we're going to do a smooth coat of this on top there. Let's go like that, just to bring in another layer of colour. can look quite bright when it's first going on, but once it's dry it does tend to sort of dull down a little bit and sort of relax into the rest of the colours a bit more. There we go, just a little bit of that there. And then on the bones, sorry, on the teeth up here, just a little touch of that, just to pick out those. So we're going to let that dry. We're going to do one final highlight, and then we're going to be finished. And then, of course, once the Ushabti Bone is dry, we're going to move on to the final step, which is the Screaming Skull. And with this, we're going to do the exact same principle here, but we're just going to be very, very sparing with it. Very, very sparing. And this is really just going to be for the sharpest bits of detail. It's quite a bright colour, quite a bright highlight this. So just the sharpest details. So just for example, like on the orc skull here, just a tip, just a little tiny bit on the teeth there. A little bit where the chin sticks up there. Any of the sort of sharp areas of the bones, tip of the teeth, around the bit there. And then around the sort of curve of the skull, I'm just going to do just a little something, just like that, just a little bit of where the light might sort of catch, or just to sort of accent the shape a bit. And the nose there. Same down here. Just a little bit on the top of the head there. Around the sort of sharp bits of the eye holes there. Just like so. And then the teeth hanging on the necklace. Again, just a little touch of this. Just a little sharpness. There we go. Just like that. I'm just gonna have a little look around this, make sure I've not missed anything, and then we'll be wrapping this up. And there we go then, so that's the bones and the teeth all finished there. So nothing too fancy here, nothing too extravagant, just a couple of bone colours and a wash there. And I think it's quite nice and effective. Well, there we go. That is how we do the teeth and bones when painting the Great Company of Frostpaws. So there we are then, so that is another episode of Painting the Frostpaws finished there for you, and Ragnar is another step closer to being completely complete. So next episode, I think in the series we're going to be taking a look at runestones and gemstones, so all the sort of carved glowing runes and the ornamental gemstones on the armour as well. So we're going to be taking a look at that next time. Check out the channel sponsors, Bristol Independent Gaming, and use the code WinterWizard10 in the checkout for your 10% off and free postage on £50 or more. If you have enjoyed the video today, then a like and a comment would be very, very much appreciated. And of course, if you'd like to see more of what goes on here inside the Frozen Fortress, then perhaps you'll also consider becoming a subscriber. And once again, whoever you are, thank you very, very much for joining me today. I'm Winter Wizard, that's Dimmu, and for now, keep it frosty.